All right, Casey Inslee, we're back at it.
Episode 2 or 3.
Episode two, technically episode three,
Got ya.
and good to see you as we do. Happy Friday.
Cheers, happy
All
Friday.
right, great to be with you again.
Yeah,
Here we go.
here we go. Let's real quick, let's apologize for the last podcast if you are listening.
For those of you listening chronologically, the previous episode was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun,
A
great
lot
time.
of fun, good stuff in studio, but might have been hard on the audience.
Might have been. We're a little spun up. It was Veterans Day, and we go hard in the paint on Veterans
We
Day.
got to recognize our people. So thank you, Casey, again for your service, and good to be back here with y'all. Thanks for listening. Thanks for tuning in again. And the seasons are changing. It's getting cold outside.
Yeah,
It's getting chilly. Gotta have a jacket. Gotta have a jacket.
Gotta have a jacket.
Gotta put the jean shorts away.
Getting ready to start
real.
gelling.
Um,
The jean shorts never go away.
Actually,
The jean shorts always they're
come
on
out
standby.
they come back in the winter. Yeah, like there's a closing day or a random mountain
You
party.
never know.
And of course, we know not everybody lives in a mountain town or a ski town more specifically, but we especially noticed a change here in the mountains. The seasons are changing.
Yeah, we got a foot of snow a week ago.
Yeah, I got a storm coming tomorrow, I think, allegedly as well. So the temperature drops, snow arrives, excitement builds. Not for my co-host though.
No, I'm not a winter
Hates
guy.
the winter, but
I live in the dumbest place for someone that hates winter.
It's kind of true.
It's like, oh, I hate the beach. Get out of Florida.
Yeah, exactly. Which is funny. Like I love the winter, look forward to it every year. It's my favorite season or favorite time to be in the mountains. I love being on the mountain.
Sure.
So yeah, definitely a different level to be in a ski town and not be excited about skiing. And I even know people that love to ski that'll do 100 days a year that are like, is it really time to go? Can we just have another week of sunshine or hikes or leaves or whatever it may be?
I used to love winter when growing up playing hockey. Winter meant hockey season.
Yeah.
But now all the rinks are indoors and refrigerated, so we can do hockey in 70-degree weather.
Yeah.
It's no problem.
That's true. Well, that's funny. I thought that was weird when they first put a team in like the Phoenix Coyotes.
Yeah.
And then Tampa Bay Lightning. I was like, how
are we going to do this?
And I guess the Anaheim Angel or the Ducks could be in there too.
I mean, they just air condition the hell out of it.
Yeah.
And there's coolant under the ice surface, so that keeps the ice cold.
Well, I grew up in San Diego for the most
Keeps
part.
the ice frozen. The ice is all if it's ice, it's cold.
Yeah, it's true. by definition, it has to be cold to be ice.
Yeah, we're getting
It has to be
again.
frozen technically, actually, to be ice, not just cold.
Right, it has to be solid. we should call a scientist.
Again, do your own fact checking on the show, but pretty sure in order for ice to be frozen, it has to be cold.
Yeah,
And if water to be frozen, it has to be cold. Yeah,
all right,
we're doing great.
Let's move right along.
Yeah. So I grew up in San Diego for the most part, some time in the Ozarks, as we discussed in the last episode, but we used to joke that there were 2 seasons. One of my favorite things about Colorado is there were 4 seasons. The 2 seasons in SoCal were June and the rest of the year.
The rest of the year. Yeah, being from Illinois, we had some pretty brutal winters, but it was like that wet, windy cold that like you just
Heavy ice that hangs trees down, breaks down power lines, breaks branches.
Yeah. And gray.
And
just
you don't want to
gray the entire winter. No sun.
Yeah.
No like here we get a lot of snow, but it's sunny.
When we first talked about this episode, Casey suggested, if you remember, how to survive the 4 months in the dark.
Yes.
I kind of knew where we were on that trajectory.
4 months in a dark cave.
About how you feel about what's coming.
I saw the funniest meme. It was like, I don't mean to overreact, but this time change has ruined my life.
Well, sun went down last night at 5:30, I think.
Yeah.
I
left the shop today at 5, and I had to use my headlights.
It's great for naps.
Mm-hmm.
But then you end up missing Jeopardy at 6 p.m.
Oh man, yeah. God forbid.
All right. So the focus of this episode is, winterizing for the win. How to be an adult ahead of the winter, right? How to protect yourself and
how to not be that guy in the middle of winter.
Let's talk about that. Like living in the mountains, it's like of utmost importance, but some people overlook it. For people who are coming from out of the area to the mountains, totally underestimated.
Well, I mean, you got to figure our population doubles in the winter.
It's true.
And half of our population that doubles typically are from places that don't really have winter.
Yeah.
And so you get people out here that are just like lost.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, what did you think? You were coming out here to ski,
Yeah.
and now you're surprised that it's cold and there's snow and you're not prepared.
The first divide comes from people that are either driving up from Denver, usually a little bit better suited, versus people who rented cars at Denver Airport that are trying to drive up to the mountains.
Oh god!
And you can find those people littered across the ditches of I-70.
100%. They are
trying to come up the Eisenhower Tunnel with
they are backwards.
They're like, front wheel drive, I got this. I grew up in the Midwest. You just got to
Yeah.
feather the pedal.
Or even better, I just bought this new 4-wheel drive 4Runner, so I can go anywhere. I can go 80.
Right.
And it's like, no.
Yeah, I can go 90. I have all-wheel drive. Let's go.
Just
It doesn't mean all-wheel stopping.
No, well, every car has all-wheel stopping.
Yeah, but there's ice, there's conditions,
right?
Like there's
but all-wheel stopping at 30 versus all-wheel stopping at 80 on ice is it's a different ballgame.
Totally.
It's you throw up your flag that I'm an idiot and I'm in the ditch.
You could while you're waiting for the AAA. Everyone's just going, yep. You could end up on shout out to the Instagram account I-70 things.
Oh yeah.
I know you're not on Insta that much, but this is one of the best IG accounts. Hilarious.
Yeah.
It's just like all kinds of like rental plates and out of state plates just riddled across.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, and as well as anyone, I-70 that stretch from Denver to Glenwood Springs,
which runs all the way to St. George, Utah before it comes to 15 and runs all the way to LA. Yeah.
But I mean, it can in the winter, it can be a parking lot.
Oh, definitely.
So let me ask you this. In your opinion, I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. When you're going to make that drive, what days are better than others? I mean, definitely don't want to drive east on Sunday.
Eliminate eastbound from anywhere in the mountains from Sunday from like noon to 5.
Mm-hmm.
That's just an absolute no-go. 70-mile drive will turn into
what? Oh, hey, we have a special guest.
We're gonna put her on the spot. We've talked about her in the podcast, but Jenna, the silent Ainsley, is joined the podcast.
Hey, babe, how you doing?
Just for a minute.
You lost your voice.
Conveniently, yeah, that's true. That's fair. That's anyway. She's not scheduled till what is it? Episode 7, I think.
Oh, okay.
So she's got a few weeks. It's all good. But definitely don't go down Sunday.
Yeah, eastbound on 70 on Sunday between Glenwood Springs and Denver.
Totally.
It's a parking lot
all the way through. Totally. The rule used to be that you had to be at the tunnel by noon, heading eastbound if you wanted to be in Denver.
Not accurate anymore.
Now I think it's probably you used to be able to get like a morning session in.
Sure.
Like you could go to Keystone or Breckenridge, something local, and you could get, lifts open at 8:45, 9. You could get a couple runs, get back to the car by 11, hit the tunnel by noon, and probably be pretty good to be home for your afternoon football game.
So, and then
that was 10 years ago, as I mentioned earlier. Like I've been in the mountains for a while.
I would say in the same westbound on Friday westbound at 5 o'clock. You get
not so bad.
Not as bad.
Not as bad. Although
Saturday morning.
That depends on holiday weekend.
Sure.
Worse.
Do not travel on holiday weekends.
Or come a day early.
Yeah.
Come a day early.
And day after.
Yeah. Don't do the Saturday morning.
No.
Like you got to be, if you're coming up from Denver or if you're flying in from out there and you need to be in the mountains that day, you've got to hit C470 and the 70 on the west side of Denver by used to be 6:30. I'd say it's probably 6 by now.
Yeah.
But if you're going to Keystone, Breck, Vale, Keystone or Breck, that puts you at the mountain. If all things go well, as they should. No, that puts you at the mountain at 7:30 or something. So you have to leave your house at 5 to get to C470 by 6, depending on where you live in Denver. And then it's about 70 miles west from there.
When I see those poor cars just bumper to bumper with a state patrolman, basically pace carring groups of cars up and down 70, and I go, why? Skiing can't be that much fun.
Well, it's not coming from Denver. That's how I ended up living in the mountains. I was living on the south side of Denver, and I noticed that I actually had to leave my house by 5:30 to hit that C470 70 intersection by 6:30 or 6. I had to leave earlier and earlier. And so that's basically the thing. Like if you don't hit it by 6, like turn around and go home probably.
So what do you think? So we're joking around about all these people in the dishes. Well, let's back that up. So say you're still living in Denver, or you're living east of Denver. Say you're living in Hayes, Kansas, and you're coming out for a long weekend to ski. And it's winter. We're late December, snow's here, mountains are open, everybody's going. You know that you're leaving for, say, a week, long weekend. You're leaving, like a Wednesday to Wednesday type situation, because you don't want to try and fly in or drive in on a weekend here. It's a nightmare, and especially if we have a storm coming in, airport's closed.
Yeah.
And you're screwed. Everyone's screwed. So you're preparing to leave. You got winter. What are you going to do at your house?
Well, first thing I'm gonna do is check the weather. What's it look like?
100%.
I mean, sounds like the most obvious thing to fucking say, but
it would blow your mind how many people are just
out the door.
I had no idea there was.
I got someone to feed the dog.
Yeah,
but didn't check the weather.
I didn't know there was a storm coming in. It's been on national news, the storm that's coming in.
I'm one of the guys that doesn't watch the news, so I check local news first.
Yep.
So shout out aspenweather.net.
Aspen weather is the best.
Mr. Boudreau keeps us ahead of the powder, and he gives us the forecast a few days in advance.
And he is surprisingly right.
Incredibly accurate.
It's below, because normally I think these weather people just close their eyes and throw darts at a board half the time.
Yeah, I used to joke that the two easiest jobs in weather were San Diego weatherman and Denver weatherman.
Sure.
Because in San Diego, you're like,
it's gonna be sunny,
70 and sunny, slight chance of rain, marine layer is gonna blow off at like noon.
Right.
And then it'd be like no rain, be like, yeah, 70 and sunny, nailed it. Next day's like rain, it's like, I told you, slight chance. Denver, it's like, pretty much same thing.
35, 40 sunny, and it might snow.
It's gonna be 65 throughout the day, 35 overnight, chance of snow, half storm, coming from the western front. It didn't snow. Like I said, 65 and 35. Yeah. There's not a lot of accountability.
No. The weather, you can pretty, but the mountains are different.
Yeah, the mountains are different.
The mountains
changes quickly.
It changes it changes hourly.
Yeah.
5 hours can be the difference between having a foot of snow and not getting snow.
Yeah.
And now Boudreaux's on it.
So that's the other thing. If I were living in Hayes, Kansas, not only would I check the weather, like from my place, so that I know, hey, if I'm leaving my house, like leave the heat at a certain temperature.
Sure.
Maybe leave a water drip just to make sure pipes don't freeze.
Definitely.
Obviously make sure your animals are taken care of, that sort of stuff. But also check the weather to where you're going.
It's more important to where you're going.
And a few towns in between.
Yes.
So if you're coming from Hayes, like check Denver.
Right.
Check Junction, or not Junction.
Check
Idaho Springs.
Idaho Springs, check Denver,
2 or 3 spots along the way.
Check, because it's going to be different. Also, too, if you're coming here, check some towns a little bit further west of here, because they're going to get the weather that we get a little earlier. So they're getting, we typically get 24 hours later, say Grand Junction, 12 hours later, depending on how windy it is. But
to your point in the last episode about they and there, it'd be farther, not further. Farther west, not further.
Fuck off. All right.
That's a good call, though. Yeah.
Also, too, the pets. Have someone that's, say, feeding your dog or feeding your goldfish or whatever.
Yeah.
Make sure that they can maybe do it for a day or two longer if needed.
Totally.
Because the last thing you want is someone to leave your dog on your doorstep and be like, hey, you said be back this day and I'm leaving town now and you're SOL.
Which is also a good call if you're flying into Aspen,
100%.
Driving to Aspen, give yourself a day or two buffer.
And also driving. 70 gets shut down.
Well, I think that it's probably, I don't know what the success rate is on flights out of Aspen, but
in the winter,
I
would say it's probably 70-75% success rate. They do a great job of clearing the runway and getting these planes in and out of here,
especially for the size of airport it is. How much flight how many people,
the capacity that they
insane.
And then the private airport as well is essentially attached to the commercial airport.
Yeah,
I mean, same runway, and so you can pretty much count on a couple of those private jets sliding off the runway a couple times during the winter.
That happens at least once a season here.
I think last winter happened 3 times.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That's wild.
So you know why? There's not enough shutdown at the end of the runway. So these private jets they get all spun up to take off, and then they're like, oh no, can't take off. And they don't have enough room to slow it down. So they hit the brakes. Nobody gets hurt.
Just go off the
But
runway,
it just runs out of runway and
Rushes late
slides into the grass at the end of the runway, and then
Yeah.
it's a whole thing, and they got to shut the airport down, and everyone is stuck in town for a day because it takes about a day, especially if it happens in the afternoon. You're stuck.
It's another pro tip I would say if you're coming in, or well, I'll say leaving Aspen, and try to be on like one of the first 3 flights out.
Totally.
Usually not the first flight out because they still got to de-ice everything, and usually things get delayed. So if you try to get that 7:30 flight out, probably 8:30 or 9 anyway.
Yeah, you want that 9-10 o'clock flight.
The day has warmed up.
Sure.
The planes are de-icing a little bit on their own because the sun's out on the
Yeah.
mountains. But I can't tell you how many times I've been on like a 6 o'clock flight and like weather rolls in through the day. Like 6 o'clock flight out of Aspen.
Yeah, 6 o'clock in the evening.
Somewhere in the evening.
Yeah.
And I end up just like getting to stay in town and go to the belly up for the evening.
Yeah,
because it didn't go out.
Yeah.
It didn't make it out.
So you got your house sorted out. You check the weather.
Some other anything else at the house? I know I just touched on like the pipes, but like
it's your house. I mean, you should have your house fairly locked in.
Yeah.
So I would just say be flexible. Make sure that if you do have someone watching your pets, if your neighbor has some keys to grab your mail or to check on your stuff, know that there's a good likelihood that you're going to be a day or two later getting back.
Yeah.
Than what you maybe had.
So plan for that.
Yeah.
Traveling to the mountains has inclement weather, and that inclement weather can rise and fall in a matter of minutes. And
now let's say you're driving. Instead of flying, let's say you're driving from Hayes, Kansas to Aspen, Colorado.
First thing for number one rule, going back to some of the things that we were add to this, number one rule when you're driving in the mountains, weather specifically, is arrive alive.
Totally.
Like slow it down, give some more space, expect that you're going to slide, expect that you're going to hit something that you don't see.
Well, I mean, you think about this, cars today, we have modern snow tires, we have ABS, traction control, we have all of these wonderful features to make these cars safer and perform and handle better in inclement weather.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, these cars did not have that technology.
Yeah.
And people still traveled just fine with no problem. And you know how they did it? They slowed down.
Yeah.
They, instead of trying to do 65, 70 to prove how big your nuts are,
totally.
You might have big nuts going by somebody at 65, 70, but then when they go by you because you're in the ditch.
I was gonna say, it's a real killer to your travel time. A couple hours in the ditch before you
got your ego all pumped up because you think you're a badass driver going fast. Yeah, you know what deflates that ego real quick?
Almost
a tow truck.
Almost say 10 minutes on the entire trip.
Yeah, and that's all you're doing.
That's all you're doing.
But also too, like you need to have your car prepared for that.
All right, let's talk about that a little bit.
So like, don't think you're going to come out here
and that's whether you're getting a rental car. Like, don't get the front wheel drive. Like, pay the extra.
Get a full size. Get an SUV.
Like something with all wheel drive at a minimum. Ideally something that has gears, manual, so that you can downshift.
Yeah, but you're not going to get that rental. They're not going to race you.
Well, a lot of them, like the nicer ones, like the Tahoes, will have like the paddle shifter.
Oh, well, all automatic cars can be manually too. All automatic cars.
Yeah.
I mean, even the 1980s Chevy pickup that has an automatic on the column.
Isn't that ridiculous on the transmission?
Not at all.
To downshift from like third to second on that.
Not at all.
Really?
No.
Okay. Same as the paddles.
Yep. Exactly the same. Right. They're designed to be manually shifted.
Well, all right. Whether you live here locally in Aspen, you got to get your car ready. So if you're coming in from Denver, you should also have your car ready for the winter.
This is just general, whether you're traveling in or out in the winter.
In the weather.
You should just you can skate on things in the summer, maintenance wise on your vehicle, but in the winter, you can't.
I'm just saying these are not necessarily things you have to do in May to get ready for June and to San Diego.
Right.
but let's talk about some of the things that you do need to do.
First of all, tires and batteries.
All right.
If your battery's 4 or 5 years old, you go buy a new one.
Just got mine jumped today, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
And I put a new one in it yesterday or last year.
Too cold.
No, you just probably hadn't driven it.
Exactly. Well, both.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah.
No. if your battery's 4 or 5 years old, the cold is going to kill it.
Yeah.
And modern cars that have so much electronics, everything's ran electronically. Even some modern cars, their steering is electric.
Is that such a big draw on the battery?
That's it.
Turn it over.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the cars have a more updated charging system, but battery technology hasn't really improved that much for a combustion engine type car.
Yeah.
So batteries, the cold's going to kill them. So definitely you want to have a fresh battery. The last place you want to be stranded is at, middle of nowhere mountain town, somewhere between Denver and Aspen.
Totally.
At midnight, and now all of a sudden your hoopty won't start.
Well, especially if there's weather, because now you're probably 9th or 10th in line because pulling people out of ditches, flat tires, wrecks.
You're not in the ditch on the interstate. You're not a priority. Not at all.
Totally.
And so you're SOL.
And you're sitting on the side of the road. So let's talk about a few things you should have in your car. If you end up in that unfortunate situation where you do need to stay warm for a couple of hours.
So my kind of kit or go bag, whatever, the stuff that I keep in my vehicle.
Go bag's different than the kit. You should have both, right?
Yeah.
Because go bag's I think more your house. You might have a go bag in your car too, but that's if you have to leave the vehicle and you might. But sure. Let's talk about what you need in your vehicle.
So I think the bang for dollar, you're going to have two problems on your vehicle. You're going to have tire problems, and you're going to have battery problems in the winter. That's it.
Okay.
You can go on Amazon, you can go to Walmart, Target, whatever, and you can buy these booster jumper boxes.
Yeah.
And you can get a pretty good one for less than $100.
Self-contained power pack with hot and cold.
Positive, negative terminals. Yeah. They also have USB ports. They have some of them have a little cigarette lighter input.
Yeah.
They have a lot of them have a flasher, a light flasher thing. Right. So if you are stopped on the road and it's at night in a snowstorm, you can set it out by your car so that people can be warned that you're pulled over.
Yep.
There's even the cheap ones nowadays are pretty good.
I mean, what, $40 to $100?
If you spend $100, you're probably getting a good one. If you shop around and read reviews and stuff, you can also get a pretty good one.
Well, I had AAA come jump me today. Yep. And that's exactly what they use. It's a little handheld thing.
Yeah, it's like a fourth the size of a shoebox.
Yep.
I mean, about the size of a bottle of booze, like a Jack Daniel's bottle, basically. Yeah. And you plug it into your house, charges. Yep, they're lithium ion. Same stuff like your drill battery runs on, essentially.
Yeah.
And positive, negative, they can jumpstart a dead battery. They can charge your phone. They can do a lot of things. They're so good and they're so affordable. You're a fool to not have one in your car.
Sure. Yeah.
I think that's
funny enough. You mentioned the size of a bottle of Jack Daniels, probably the same cost as a bottle of Jack Daniels,
right?
Roughly.
And a better decision. Significantly better decision.
Totally.
You said AAA. The other thing I would do is get AAA or make sure you have something along those lines of AAA on your regular insurance.
Somewhere between $100 or $200.
I think
the platinum gives you 150 miles of towing and roadside assistance, and it's $200 a year. And it's unlimited, by the way. So you can call them because you locked keys in your car, flat tire, dead battery, 3 days in a row.
Also,
still $200. Not like your insurance, which goes up.
Right.
If you use some of those services.
It's one of those things that you're.
And by the way, usually if you add the insurance, the roadside assistance to your insurance, it's probably a $20 a month premium. So over 12 months, that's $240. Just go get the best AAA service.
Totally.
They are white gloved, and it's less than what your insurance would upcharge you.
And also, fun fact, it makes a wonderful Christmas present.
Oh, love that. Hell yeah. That's a great call.
So my wife, Jenna, her mom, every year gets Jenna and I AAA.
Shout out, Francis.
Love you.
That's a great call.
So people in your life that you care about and you don't know what to get them, get them a AAA card, membership, and it's might save their life someday.
This isn't a bit of an aside, but because Jenna and I share a Costco membership, she's my sister,
right?
At Costco. We have the hack at Costco. If you don't want to pay the annual membership because you only go maybe once a year or something, you can go to any gas station and buy yourself at a kiosk a Costco card.
No shit.
and you can get into Costco with that gift card.
Okay.
And then you can just pay cash, use your debit or credit card
So
for anything.
You have a $20 gift card at Costco. You can walk into Costco, use your $20 gift card, and then if you still have another $100 worth of crap, you just pay the extra 100
and you skip the
brilliant
thing.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Anyway,
I had no idea.
Yeah,
I hate Costco.
I mean, I love Costco. We're somewhere in between sponsorships,
right? Well, no, I mean, I my wife loves it.
You hate Costco because you don't have 6 hours on a Sunday?
I hate being hungover in Costco on a Sunday.
Especially if they're not doing samples.
Totally. Just getting dragged up and down every aisle for some shit.
Because you know what they don't do samples of? There's no beer.
I do not.
Tequila.
I don't need a pallet of anything. Like, I just don't.
Totally. Right.
Maybe go buy a bag of salt. Tie that into our winter stuff for your house.
Oh, there you go.
A couple bags of salt. And keep your driveway and your
Get a
sidewalk.
pallet for the neighborhood.
Get a pallet for the neighborhood.
Get a pallet for the
Keep
neighborhood.
your shit shoveled and keep it de-iced.
That's a good point. Going back to the vehicle kit. Sand, salt, and even a couple pieces of wood that you could throw underneath the tires to help get some traction.
So a lot of people don't know this. What works really good is floor mats.
I saw somebody do it the other day.
It works.
They were trying to get out from behind my building, which is sun protected.
Yep.
It's on,
so it's like icy and
it's
snowy.
north facing, so it gets no sun all day.
Mhm.
And there was a guy that was like, "Hey, do you need help pushing?" And I was walking back from the grocery to my place,
Sure.
and I saw this guy asking the driver if he needed help pushing.
Mhm.
The driver was like, "No, no, no," and I'm like watching him spin. What is the limited split or the
Limited,
split differential?
yeah.
Split differential.
Mhm.
So all the power goes to one
wheel. Exactly.
And he goes, "No," and you can tell like he's been here before.
Sure.
So I hang out. I don't.
You're like,
involved.
crack a beer. I got to see how this goes.
Well, in case the guy needs some help,
Sure.
like it might take two guys to push this
Or
out.
it might make like a great
Fine.
YouTube video.
And meanwhile, this guy disappears around the other side of the truck, and the dude next to me was like, "Where's he going?" I'm like, "What is he doing?" I'm not sure. Yeah, like, what's he doing? And he was just grabbing the floor mat from the passenger side, walked around to the power wheel, dropped it down, got in, and he was out in 3 seconds. And
Yep.
I was like, "Tip of the cap."
Yep. No, the floor mat
Yeah, it's a
thing
good call.
works great. It works great. I honestly, I would probably do that over like carrying a couple pieces of like 2x4s
Yeah.
or some plywood or some
Yeah.
shit. A bag of sand, a bag of salt, great. You can throw that in front of your tires.
Yeah.
Floor mat works good. And you've seen those guys driving around with those big orange boards like on the sides of their trucks and on the roof of their 4Runner, and
Yeah.
so that's what those are. Those are traction boards.
Oh, okay.
And so you put those down and then you drive on them.
Got
But you're not going to put that in your minivan when you're bringing your kids out for a ski
What are these
weekend.
random 2x4s?
Right.
Totally.
Floor mats, bag of salt, that stuff.
I was thinking more like a flat, like 4x4 of plywood that you could
Sure.
just lay underneath
Hard to
all the
package,
gear,
huh?
but like, yeah, no, that's fair.
Um,
And if you're a soccer mom, like maybe difficult to get to cut
Sure.
a 4x4 thing. You can go to Home Depot and then cut it down. But yeah, floor mat, salt, sand.
floor mat, salt, sand.
Love that.
And if you're a guy that's if you got a 4-wheel drive, if you went out and bought the new shiny 4Runner TRD, whatever Mac Daddy truck, or that you're a man's man and you drive a pickup truck, toe strap.
Yeah,
Throw a toe strap. I mean,
absolutely.
most guys that are driving those types of trucks have one, or I don't know. I say that.
Well,
but,
even if
like,
you're driving a car, you never know when you're going to buy an Ottoman. You need to strap the trunk closed. Just
No, that's a different strap, not a ratchet strap, a toe strap.
Fair. Oh, good delineation.
Because
Fair.
a ratchet strap ain't gonna get it done, buddy. Oh yeah,
totally.
that's
not-
a good way to
Not
hurt.
properly
A
graded.
good way to hurt
Well,
people.
let's go back to obviously you're going to need a scraper or a brush.
Yep, totally.
Whether
Scraper
it's
brush.
fine.
Also the best. So washer fluid. Like driving in the mountains, driving anywhere in the winter.
Yeah,
It's snow, it's ice, then the sun comes out, and then it's just dirty road water.
yeah.
And so your windshield's a mess all the
Crushing
time.
through that.
So keep your windows clean, keep your mirrors clean.
Yeah.
When you stop to get gas, clean your shit off.
Yes, and if you're out of fluid, like
Top that stuff off.
totally.
And
It's
Not-
talking about like what happens if you've not driven in weather.
mhm.
You can severely underestimate the level of visibility and the amount, the need for.
And I will tell you this: if you're going to go buy washer fluid, if you're at a gas station on the long side of the interstate, you're just you get what you get. What I do is there's a company called Rain-X, and I attempt to buy Rain-X washer fluid whenever I can. But I also they sell like a Rain-X concentrate bottle. And so you can add like a few capfuls of the
Oh.
concentrate to
To
any
your
regular
wiper
cheap gas station washer
as
fluid.
well.
Yeah. And it makes that washer fluid. It doesn't work as good as Rain-X, but it works almost as good.
And Rain-X is like a deterrent, like
it's got like a polymer, like a wax, something in it that it helps the water bead and run off
quickly.
and it makes your wipers work better.
Okay.
Here's another thing in the winter. You always got your defrost on, your windows are always fogged up because you're hot and it's cold outside.
Yep.
Rain-X also makes a anti-fog spray window cleaner. That stuff is amazing. So clean the inside of your windows with that, because it will absolutely keep them from fogging. If you're using Rain-X, I do a Rain-X treatment on the windshield, and I try to buy Rain-X washer fluid. If not, I'm always adding Rain-X additive to my windshield washer fluid. And in the morning when there's snow and ice on my car, it comes off so much easier.
I love that. Similarly, if you're on the mountain, not in your car,
goggles.
The equivalent is called cat crap.
Cat crap. We see in hockey when we would wear the visors, we would use like shampoo or toothpaste, and it sort of worked. It didn't work that well. I'm sure there's better stuff now. This stuff's called cat crap.
I think that's what it's called. Hold on.
Cat poop.
But it's anti fog for your dogs,
and it works.
Yeah. It doesn't work when they're hanging from your rear view mirror. As we discussed in the last episode. Yeah, cat crap, anti-fog. So shout out cat crap. Appreciate y'all. But if you're new to skiing or you don't ski like every day, one of the biggest like detractors from skiing is effed up goggles. And the first thing that most everybody does that doesn't know is pull them off their face and
wipe them
with their glove,
make them worse,
finger,
scratch them up.
Worse.
Yeah.
Now you got scratches, not just fog.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, also guys that wear glasses. I remember playing pond hockey with my dad, and my dad wore glasses, and his glasses were always fogged up, and I felt so bad for him because he could never see, and then he'd take them off, and then he couldn't see worse.
Could you imagine if you were wearing bifocals and goggles, where you're just trying to like, as you're going over the terrain, trying to like adjust neither versus
just a
part
disaster. Let's get back to the car thing. The other thing, tire pressure. You can get away with running a little less tire pressure in the winter.
Yeah.
Your tires naturally
will talk about the science on that, because that seems counterintuitive, because there's already less air because it's cold, right?
Right. So your tires will already have a little bit less tire pressure in the winter because
so a little more rubber meeting the road.
And that's it. Yeah, you get
flexibility on the turn.
You get a bigger contact patch on the tire.
That makes sense.
And typically if you're running snow tires, they're a softer compound, the lugs are please. And then they have a recommended tire pressure that is typically lower than, your standard, summer type tire. So it kind of happens on its own, but winter tires, snow tires, they're the best. Blizzaks is, in my opinion, the best brand of winter snow tire. Some people run the studded snows. I think it just gives them a false sense of security.
Shout out to Blizzaks again.
Yeah.
Those guys up last episode.
The studded snows, I mean, maybe they're a little better on ice, but really what you're getting out of a snow tire is the softer compound and the more siping in each lug so that the tire actually flexes and grips more. Don't run them in the summer because you'll kill them and your car will handle funny, but in the winter they're the cat crap.
Let's clarify that lug use. So lug to me means on the side of the tire where you tighten and affix the tire.
That's the lug nut.
Lug nut. So what's a lug?
So the lug on the tire, you basically have high points and grooves. So the lugs are the knobs, and then the grooves are the bigger gaps in between the lugs.
All right.
Then on the lug itself, or the raised tread portion of the tire, then they sipe that lug. So they cut small little
channels.
Exactly. They're like paper thin. But what that does is that instead of the lug being, say, an inch by inch square that's hard, it now allows that lug to flex because it has these grooves in it. So it allows the rubber to kind of fold over.
So the water can go where it needs to go.
It's less for water and it's more for traction. So the water gets channeled on the tire through the big grooves around the lugs.
Right. So the lugs are like the tributaries of the channels.
Sure,
Kind of
they're like
way
the
to think
rocks.
about it? Yeah.
So
Oh,
you're like
okay.
on the river, the water
Right,
rushes
the water.
between the rocks that stick above the
Okay. Yeah.
water. But
Okay.
yeah, on like a normal, regular summer dry type tire, those lugs are solid and they don't flex. You don't want them to.
Yep.
So they cut small little paper thin grooves in these lugs to allow them to flex, to grip more on. You ever seen like a dog walk on a hardwood floor, a tile floor, and their paws stretch out real big?
Sure.
That's essentially what the lugs on the tires are doing on snow and ice. But that's also what makes them terrible on a 80-degree day on dry pavement, because they're still doing that, and so the car moves around on top of the tires, or the wheels move around
It
on
feels
the tire.
squishy.
It feels squishy and loose. Exactly.
God.
Feels like something's wrong with your car. Although so many people drive such clapped out piles that they don't even they don't know how messed up their shit is
Right.
until it breaks.
Right.
And then
or until it comes to extreme weather outside of yours.
And that's the thing about doing your vehicle maintenance.
Yeah.
Like, it's so important. A couple other things I carry in the car.
What about a jack? If those lugs go crazy, those lug nuts get loose.
And, all cars are going to have the emergency jack.
But check your jack, because I got stuck on the side of the road recently. I'm not proud to admit it, but I had the factory jack in my car. I thought everything was like good to go. Turns out somebody had swapped it out. It wasn't even high enough to
get your car
to get my car off the ground so I could take the old tire off. Yeah.
Here's the thing.
And then you pointed me to like a third party jack that I now keep in my car, and I'm good to go.
But, and I think that's great. And if you
I wouldn't want. I found that out like in the middle of June in the summer day.
It would suck at midnight on 70 in Eisenhower Tunnel.
Totally.
Like, you're screwed.
Totally.
What I would say honestly nowadays, with especially, just get AAA and don't deal with it.
Yeah.
Pull over.
Shout out AAA. I didn't do that earlier.
Pull over, turn on your hazards, stay in your car.
Really is the best $200 you can spend.
Pull over, turn on your hazards, stay in your car. If you don't know how to change a tire, who gives a shit if you got a jack or not? Like, if you have practiced, if you can get in your car, get your jack out, change your tire, know where your spare is located, know how to get it out, know how to replace it.
Yeah.
Know that in modern cars, you cannot drive very far on your spare. You literally can just get to the next place to get your tire repaired or replaced.
Yeah.
90% of people need to just stay in your car, get off the road.
Yeah.
Don't drive on your flat tire, because you're going to kill your wheel. And
what if you don't have reception where you break down? What do? Do you flag somebody down on the road? Do you try to walk to reception? Do you stay in the car as you suggested?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm a man,
so or walk into
change the tire. Just
we're done.
Throw yourself off the bridge.
Party. We're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it.
Cannot ford the river. Everyone dies of smallpox. That's it. No,
Tommy got dysentery on the side of 70.
Oh man,
it seems like we're trail.
I always thought them Vail people were nasty. Where at on the interstate do you not have service?
I mean, there's a few places.
Is there?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, from like we're talking about Glenwood to Denver.
Sure.
There's a couple.
Yeah, I mean,
one is one of the most notorious places, that downhill. Remember that old chili bar, Kermit's Biker Bar?
Oh yeah, so good.
Like down there. I don't know why that place has changed ownership so many times. That's an aside. Yeah. But like right there's no service.
Sure.
And that's a precarious place, because everyone's going downhill. So if you're stuck on the side of the road and you're looking back uphill, it's headlights and like beating down on you.
This is what I would do if I didn't know how to change the tire, if I didn't have cell service, if I didn't think, like, on 70 there's a high likelihood if you sit on the side of the road with your hazards on, a cop is going to come in,
or like CDOT or something.
Somebody. Then I would say, you know what, a new wheel is going to be a few $100. What's your life worth? I would probably drive on my flat until I got service.
Yeah.
I would pull over to the side of the road.
Drive the shoulder,
put the hazards on.
Fair.
And
you're probably no more than a mile away from service.
Exactly.
For the most part.
So if you're going,
or at least get yourself to a safe place.
Totally.
If you don't have service.
Yeah. Drive 5 to 10 mile an hour, not even, on your flat. I mean, it's going to kill your wheel, and you're going to end up buying a new wheel.
Life versus real tire and rim.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or get out your owner's manual, because in every modern vehicle there's an owner's manual that has complete A
That's
to B.
700 pages of nonsense, though.
There is a section on if you're an idiot, this is how you change your
I know,
tires.
because you got to look for something specific. If you're like, I'm not an idiot, I'm looking for how to change this fuse for that light. It's like, no, you got it.
Real quick, let's just get into changing the tire real quick.
Oh, nice. All right.
So your
Not that hard.
Your jack, your lug wrench, then there's going to be some sort of a collapsible handle that you put onto your jack. Look on your owner's manual real quick, because it will tell you where to put the jack. Every vehicle
is on the undercarriage.
On the undercarriage.
Totally.
Every vehicle is different.
Totally.
So look in your manual and put the jack where it tells you to put the jack.
Which was not the reason for my jack not reaching, by the way.
So you say. Anyway,
I changed the tire on this car before. That's
so
all I know.
Get the jack out. Get all your stuff out. Breeze through the manual real quick. It will tell you the instructions.
Yeah.
Unloosen.
Might be a good thing to do like in the next week, so that you're not doing it on the side of the road.
Do it before you need to do it.
Yeah, right.
And let's just
the whole purpose of this.
Let's just blow through this real quick, because we got more shit to get to. Yeah. Loosen the lug nuts, but don't remove them. Loosen them while the tire is on the ground. Otherwise, the wheel will turn and you won't be able to loosen. You'll just sit there turning your wheel with it off the ground, understanding why no one loves you. So leave it on the ground, loosen the lug nuts, put the jack in the location specified in the owner's manual, crank the jack, get it off the ground, remove the lug nuts completely, get the spare tire out.
Break the lug nuts before you raise it.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Loosen. Yeah. Don't remove them. Right. Then put the wheel on, get the lug nuts snug before the tire starts to turn, set it back on the ground, and then finish tightening them.
Yeah.
You can pull up on the lug nut wrench harder than you can push down on it. I see people trying to break lugs free, and they're like jumping on the end of it.
Oh, it's pulling and torquing the other way.
You cannot jump up and down on it to break it free.
Huh.
You cannot.
Good point.
Unless you are 300 pounds and can jump 6 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Like, you can pull harder than you can push, always. And so
what if you
orient the wrench in such a way that you're pulling up on it?
Or what if you're pushing away?
Nope.
If you can, still pull.
You always pull. Okay. Pick it up.
Yeah.
And most lug nut wrenches now are like an L or a 7. They just have one arm that fits the wrench. If you're fortunate enough to have one of those lug nut wrenches that's the T or the X that has multiple sizes on it, then what you want to do is set the wrench horizontal and pull with one hand and push with the other hand. If you put all your weight on one side and try and pull, you're not going to get it. So you need to push and pull with the lug wrench.
It's a good reminder of physics, though. Like, there really is, like, it just works smarter than harder, right? Because most of that stuff.
So you want a quick story?
Sure.
So in high school, I was like 15, didn't have a driver's license yet. Still taking the bus. And this smoking hot chick, senior in high school, like cheerleader, like everyone just wanted to be her boyfriend. And then like the most cock diesel badass high school senior varsity quarterback stud, like the kid QB1
homecoming kid
who is dating the smoking hot cheerleader chick, and she's got a flat tire and he's on the side of the road like in the parking lot of our high school, and he's like reefing on it, like couldn't get these lug nuts broke free and couldn't get her tire changed, and he's like trying to be the tough guy. And 14, I think I was actually probably 14, 15. I was a freshman or a sophomore. I didn't have a driver's license. Stroll up and just nonchalantly break all 5 lug nuts off, change your tire like a NASCAR pit crew.
Nice.
And I was the big fucking hero that day.
Yeah, dude.
Next day, she brought me to high school. Her and a bunch of the cheerleader girls came into my homeroom class with this like huge bouquet of flowers and chocolates and gave it to me to say thank you, and a handwritten note from her dad, who is the fire chief of our town, thanking me for saving his daughter.
Dude, that's a big deal.
Big deal, dude. I was king dingling.
One tire?
One tire.
Guys, forget the pickup line.
Learn how to change
the tire.
Be a man.
Yeah, learn how to choose it.
Be a man.
Love that, dude. Shout out to the Be a Man podcast.
Oh, that guy's so right.
I'm sure there's one.
All right, so anyway, car stuff. And then, of course, prepare for it going as bad as possible. Don't travel in the winter without snow boots. Don't travel in the winter without gloves.
Jackets, blankets, like warm
all
stuff.
this stuff. Those chemical heaters.
Even if the weather looks good when you leave, like in the mountains, it can change like that.
And if you are in the state of Colorado, by October, you should have winter boots, a heavy jacket, a hat, and gloves that live in your car 24/7.
Don't do it the night before the first snowstorm or the day of. Don't be that guy going or girl
early
going
October,
to the
mid-October,
to
all
the
that
hardware store trying to grab a shovel in the first snow.
And I'm not
there may not be shovels, and you're probably going to pay a premium. And you also look like that.
And I'm not saying like your nice snow boots. I'm not saying your nice jacket. I'm not saying the stuff that you would wear on the mountain. Or the stuff your old shit that you don't wear anymore. Yeah. Throw it in the trunk. Throw it behind your seat. Throw it somewhere. Your old boots. That shit should live in your car. Because it might not be you. Your car might be running and be fine. And you pull over to help somebody else. And they're shivering and freezing and they don't have shit.
Love that point. It's a good call. And the other thing I was going to say beyond that, you may never need it for you or anyone else.
Never need it.
Hopefully you don't. But it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
I promise you, the first time you need it, it will be the first time you don't have it. Put that shit in your car and you'll never need it.
Were you a Boy Scout? What was the mantra?
I was never a Boy Scout.
Always be prepared.
I got.
Or what is the thing?
Always prepared. Always be prepared. Some shit.
So that's kind of what we're getting at. But like, no shout outs to the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, no, stop touching boys. Actually, no, it's a good program. I think it's a good program. It caught a little.
It's like saying Sunday school at Catholic Church is a good program. Like you might learn some parables.
I think more kids have a good experience than have a bad experience, and I think that they've
in the Catholic Church or about Boy Scouts.
And I think they've done it. They've locked that shit in.
Mark, check stats on
happiness. How many boys get touched in the?
Does happiness increase with number of badges fixed to sash?
So I will tell you this: my first sergeant in the military, badass.
Touched you?
No. I mean, I couldn't have stopped him. Badass Army Ranger, like one of the greatest, toughest guys I've known. He is also the troop leader for his son in Boy Scouts.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a hell of a troop.
Totally.
Dude, like that's get kids in that.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you want your kid in his troop because like you've got a badass, multiple combat tours, Army Ranger, like
better than sending your kid to go be coached by Gerald the grocery man. And AYSO soccer for the Purple Panthers.
Yeah. Find out who's running what programs and then screw the program and put your kids in the good people.
I'm cool with that.
All right. So anyway, I think we've got a pretty good touch on the car.
Well, a couple things. We left out some obvious ones.
Okay.
Gotta have some jumper cables.
Yeah, jumper cables. Thank you.
Water,
spare windshield washer fluid.
Food, ideally non-perishable, highly caloric.
Food's kind of a rub though until the bears go to bed. Because you don't want to leave food in your car.
What about canned stuff? Like,
no food.
No food.
Literally no food.
Good point.
They can smell menstruations.
There.
Anchorman shout out.
Pee on your girlfriend.
Pee on your girlfriend. So yeah.
Phone charger. Flashlight.
Obvious shit. Flashlight. Yeah, you
check your batteries. What about like maybe instead of worrying about batteries, like anything you can do to be manually powered, like a hand crank torch or something that can strike with friction.
Flares.
Like a flare.
Yeah, flares aren't a bad idea. Personally, I don't have flares because on our jumper box thing, it has a flashing light.
Right. But it's good to have redundancies at some level.
Absolutely.
Too, right?
You know, if you want to get like down to the nitty gritty, I'm sure there's a million people on YouTube that have all these ideas. I mean, sure, flares, a medical. First
I searched all these things, and
I'll tell you one thing that I carry that a lot of people don't carry is I carry a first aid kit.
Yeah.
With a tourniquet, and I also carry a window breaker, and here's why. A couple of years ago, and this was in the middle of summer, I was at the Catherine store. 82 Catherine store light.
Shout out 2-lane highway. Get out of the left lane.
Yep. Get out of the left lane. And I was on my motorcycle. And there was a big collision at that intersection, which I rode up on. And there was a guy unconscious in his car in the ditch. And his car
could blow up.
Well, his car was smoking. And it was mostly smoking because the radiator got broken. Just steam coming out of the radiator of the front of the car.
Sure.
But also I noticed that I heard some buzzing and it was actually some fire smoke started coming from under the hood. And so I'm like banging on the guy's window. I'm like, hey, wake up. Hey, wake up. Hey, pop your hood. Hey, are you okay? Because I was first on the scene. And this guy was completely unconscious.
And know what to do in these situations. So
a little bit, but yeah, I mean, but this guy's completely unconscious. Airbag went off, knocked his ass out. So I was able to reach through the grill, use my pocket knife, pry some of the grill away, and I was able to unlatch his hood and got his hood open and ripped the power cable, the negative lead off of his battery.
Oh shit.
We need to, after this story, let's talk about how to jump a dead battery, because you might have to do that in the winter.
All
right. So anyway, was able to get the negative terminal off of his battery, which you always remove first. Because if the negative isn't there, the battery is essentially turned off. The negative / ground, the black one.
Yeah, the black one.
So anyway, got that stopped. I think that eventually it probably would have tripped a fuse or a breaker in the vehicle, and it would not have caught on fire from that, but easier to be safe than sorry. So then I've got that part of the accident kind of settled, walked back around to the driver's door. Doors are locked. He's still unconscious. I can't get him to wake up. And couldn't get him to wake up. And obviously the first thing I did was call 911.
Well, and you wanted to get him to wake up to just make sure
he's okay, get out of the car, make sure he's not fucking dead. Also, like, best to not be sitting in a car that's could potentially catch on fire.
Well, I guess I was driving at that point is like, this guy can't open the window on his own. Yeah.
He couldn't do anything. So what I'm saying is, he did finally eventually wake up, but I'm not kidding you, Jeff. It was probably 5 or so minutes, 5-6 minutes of him being unconscious in the car with steam rolling out of the radiator. Fortunately, I was able to get the battery unhooked. But I had a roommate years before that. She got in an accident in a Subaru Outback, and the goddamn car caught on fire and burnt to the ground in the accident in Glenwood Canyon.
Oh my gosh.
So cars catch on fire. That's a real thing.
Yeah.
And anyway, he finally did wake up, and he was okay. He was sore. I'm sure he had some sort of a concussion or something, some lacerations on his face, nothing too bad. But I started immediately thinking, I was like, man, if I really had to get in the car, I could have found a rock or pulled one of those snow fence stakes out of the ground and out of the median somewhere, something. I could have broke a window and got in. But they make these window breakers.
They're just like an acute point.
Yeah, totally. And they're spring snap loaded. You use them. We use them at the shop for punches for metal to center punch a hole before we drill it. But you can do that in the corner. Yeah, exactly. It'll just set it. But you can do that in the corner of a window somewhere, and it'll break the glass, so then you can reach in and unlock it. Also, a knife. I would always carry a knife.
I was going to say that. I was waiting for you to get through.
Or a Leatherman.
And maybe just find like a Leatherman that has some of those things that are like built in, right? Oh. So like there's a screwdriver on it.
And if you had that screwdriver, you could punch the side of the window.
That's a cute thing if you did.
Put a glove on. Put a glove on, because you will cut the shit out of your hand.
Well, that was one of the other things I had on my list. That was like tools. But if you have like a nice Leatherman, like a good hip carry pocket knife,
you'd be amazed what a pair of pliers can do.
Yeah.
Obviously, a knife to cut seat belts, an emergency situation, pliers to undo a bolt to get a battery cable off. Anyway, let's talk about how to jumpstart a car real quick.
All good mentions. Yeah, tell us about that.
So,
because I just had to call somebody to do mine today,
and I
even have one of those.
Give me your man card.
I even have one of those. Well, I could do it with my teeth. I tried. I tried to be the ground to my body.
Oh yeah. But those jumper boxes don't require one.
Well, I even have one, but I apparently bought the wrong jumper box. I bought two, one to have in my house and one to have in my car. And I don't know if my battery was too dead or if I just bought a bunk product. But
was it fully charged?
I believe it was.
So some of those are fully charged, but then you have to turn them on.
Well, here's a question. How long do those things last if you do have like an external cell phone battery or
a few months?
Even in the cold, if they're sitting in the car.
Lithium ion is significantly less effective.
I probably bought a cheap product because I was kind of moving quickly, just trying to buy one.
Sure. I mean, a few months, there's usually a button that you can hit on the side that will show you how charged it is.
Yep.
But also
Mine has that and it says it's fully charged,
Okay.
but it just wouldn't bring my car.
so sometimes you have to hook it up and then you have to hit another button to hold it to turn the pack
to
on.
surge it.
Exactly. And then you can jump in and hit the key.
I'll double check mine. That might be.
I mean, read the instructions.
Could have been user error for sure.
You know how they joke around about like don't ask for directions, don't read the instructions.
Yeah.
Always read the instructions.
Fair.
Especially with the new electronic crap that's out today. They all have their little idiosyncrasies.
Right.
A new car, where to put the jack.
I'm one of those guys that as soon as the pop-up comes up, I'm just looking for the X to close it. And I'm like, oh shit. I should have read that. That might have been a helpful piece of information.
So real quick for everyone that doesn't know how to jumpstart a car, and there's going to be people that disagree with me, but I do this for a living. I've been doing this for a long time. Hook up the dead battery first, positive to positive, negative to negative. Positive's red, negative's black. Hook those up directly. Then on the running car, actually turn that running car off. The car that can run, turn that off. Hook that up. Positive to positive, negative to negative.
Then fire.
Then turn that car on. If you need to jumpstart a motorcycle, don't do it a lot, but if you need to in an emergency, you can jumpstart a motorcycle off of a car battery, but the car cannot be running.
Just draw a current dead.
If it's running, the alternator's doing output and it's too many amps and it'll kill the electrical system on a motorcycle. But on a car, it's not that big of a deal, but it's not as good to have that big hit from a running vehicle.
But if you don't have the truck running, then the bike can draw from the voltage.
No, exactly. It'll just draw from the battery in its stationary state and it's just living state.
Yeah.
But anyway, jump starting the car. Then turn the vehicle on. A lot of people
you shouldn't have your fucking motorcycle on I-70
in the middle of the winter.
Winterize yourself.
Winterize.
Get off your bike.
Been there. I've been on I-70.
Have you caught a storm?
It's snowstorms.
Oh god.
Yeah, like both feet down.
What's worth riding the bike in the storm or knowing that everyone's judging you for making bad decisions?
I feel like people are applauding me. I feel like people are like, that guy's a badass. That guy's a fucking hero. I've seen it before when I'm in a car and I'm like, that guy's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
But mostly, I don't know. It was just.
But you felt like people thought you were heroic.
It was early October. I should have been fine.
I mean,
it was 65 degrees when I left Gypsum.
Right.
I was in Gypsum.
Yeah.
And it was 65 degrees and sunny. I was in a t-shirt and jeans.
So the point of
I didn't check the weather, but we stopped, we had some beers, we had some dinner. Next thing I know, I'm going over through Eisenhower Tunnel and it's 31 degrees and snowing and sleeting and it's dark out and my life sucked. Anyway, made it safe, whatever, lesson learned.
Here he is on the podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
So the common misconception about jump starting a car is that you need to put one of the cables to a ground. Instead of hooking it to the negative terminal on the battery, people want to put the jumper cable to a ground.
Well, my car, you can't get to.
Some cars are like that.
Yeah, mine. You have to ground.
Right, and some of the GM stuff, there'll be a GND next to like the alternator or something, and that stands for ground, and that's where you'll hook the black cable up to.
Yeah.
But
because mine just has a post that.
Sure.
Or you could find some metal piece under the hood.
Yeah. Some cars do that, but if you don't have to do that. Positive, negative, and negative. Jumpstart
post to post.
Totally. Yeah. You don't overthink it. It's not rocket surgery.
Yeah.
The cars have been having the same electrical system since the invention of the car. They've upped the volts and the amperage, but it still works the same way.
Electricity always has worked so much.
It's pretty much exactly the same shit the whole time. Ooh, one other thing: wiper blades.
We touched on it.
Yeah.
But spend the $60, right?
Get the good wiper blades.
Just get them.
And don't get the triple blade or the double blade or whatever. Just buy some good, the Bosch ones are great. I like the Rain-X ones. I think those are great.
Yeah.
Spend the money. Don't get the cheap, shitty ones.
Well, and they have
the winter blade.
I drive an old import, so probably in the higher end of replacement parts.
Mm-hmm.
And I think my rear view, my back window is $18. Their one front window is longer than the other, but it's something like 36 and 28 or something like that. So for $75,
you can do it.
You can do it.
Do it every year.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's annually.
Yeah,
is that good?
Yeah. And same thing with windshields. Novus Auto Glass will put a windshield in your vehicle for usually $500 or so. If you
This
have
is where your insurance company is actually better than AAA.
100%,
They do have most of them are with Safe Light, when they will come to you.
they'll do it while you're at work,
And
they'll
they
do it while
actually
you're
the
drinking.
blades, you can take your car to them, they'll flip the blades. Even if they come to you, they have a number of blades like stock on.
Just do it. Like
just do that.
every
Just do
year,
that.
every couple
Just
of
go
years.
out every spring or throw a rock.
Break your shit.
And then
Get a
call
brick.
call insurance.
Yes.
Or AAA.
I mean, for us, for me and Jenna's insurance, my wife, I think it's like $50 deductible to get new glass put in.
Right, and it's $300 for a new windshield minimum.
No,
if you have no electronics attached to it.
Yeah, I paid out of pocket for a windshield today for a customer, and it was $550.
That's probably as good as it's gonna get.
Yeah.
So this, you need triple.
Your
Insurance companies, we're back. We're not mad at you. Still get AAA, but also upgrade your
glass.
insurance. Get glass.
It's an extra few bucks a month.
You need both.
And the thing is, even if you don't have like a crack or a rock chip in your windshield, you will, but also over time, your windshield gets pitted. It gets some like tiny little pitting in it, and then your wipers don't work as well.
Oh, that's why you get the streaks.
100%.
You're not getting a clean contact
Exactly.
across
Because your windshield's pitted.
That's wild.
So get a new windshield every so often, whether you need it or not, because
3 to 5 years, you think, for a windshield?
I mean,
Seasonal blades.
if you can get a windshield to last 3 years in Colorado, you have done something.
Yeah. I just got a rock of mine like last week. I was like,
I mean, I bet we get glass in Jenna's truck every year.
Also, test your heaters.
Yeah, make sure that shit works. Check your coolant.
Air, coolant.
Yeah.
Do you drain coolant? I've heard that coolant keeps your motor running too cool.
No. Coolant is, you want coolant.
Okay.
50-50. Don't use faucet water. Use distilled water or just buy the pre-mixed jugs. Yeah. Make sure you're topped off. So fluids wise, I carry an extra couple quarts of oil. I carry an extra washer fluid. I carry an extra quart of coolant. And I have a old truck, so I actually carry an extra couple quarts of automatic transmission fluid, which in a pinch can be used as power steering fluid, which in a pinch can also be used as brake fluid.
Nice.
Not ideal, but in a pinch.
Lubricant.
In a pinch. If you have to use it, you can. Well, it's a lubricant, but it's more of a hydraulic fluid. And your power steering and your brakes are hydraulic.
What's the difference between a lubricant and a hydraulic fluid?
So a lubricant lubricates, and a hydraulic it transfers pressure. So like when you hit the brakes, a plunger presses on
because of the viscousness of
viscosity. All right, I want to hear you say viscousness at midnight tonight.
Listen, last time, I had to do the callback. I had to.
Yeah, there you go.
I had to.
So what else we got here?
All right, well, let's talk about this. We're talking a lot about cars, like that's how to prep your vehicle.
Right.
What do you think about like as the operator of the vehicle? And I've got some ideas on the mountain.
If you have 4-wheel drive,
use it. Your like ski, snowboard kind of thing. But
if you have, all right, so driving. If you have 4-wheel drive, use it.
Be in it.
My dad is one of these guys that he will wait until the last minute to shift into 4-wheel drive.
When shit's happening, he drops into 4-wheel low, and you're like, we're already spinning. We're not.
Yeah, and 4-wheel low you don't need unless you're off road.
Yeah.
Or towing.
Trying to do low torque, high climb.
On the road,
incline.
4-wheel drive high. Here's the thing though, it just gets you into more problems faster. It doesn't make you invincible. You still need to travel at a good speed. The biggest thing I think about driving in the winter is space. Yeah. You don't want to be next to people because if you do lose it, and more likely someone else is going to lose it around you.
Well, an extension of driving in the left lane, sitting right next to people. You have nobody has anywhere to go. They. Space behind and front, like nobody has anywhere to go.
How I ride a motorcycle is I try to keep like a safety bubble around me, and especially in the winter in a vehicle, keep plenty of distance ahead of you, behind you. If you got someone tailgating you, slow down to the point where they have to go around.
Go around you, yeah. Let them make the move,
and then you go slow for a while, and let
them live.
Yeah, and let them get away from you
for sure. You hero shaving 3 minutes off your ETA.
Here, I've timed it, and I've done some wildly illegal, crazy shit from my door to the interchange in Denver,
Yeah.
and it's 180 miles.
Yeah, it is.
So do the math. If you're traveling 15 miles an hour faster, how much quicker do you get there?
I mean, mathematically, I think it's 45 minutes.
But that's not true at all.
If it were a 3-hour drive, 15 minutes you're saving. I know, but it's
Right.
no. There's actually studies that show there's empirical evidence. I should have brought this to the conversation. There's actually empirical evidence that shows, like, even if you're going from like LA to Vegas, which is like a very untreacherous path.
Sure.
Like, there's no mountains. There's no
nothing.
Fucking moats that you have to jump. There's nothing.
Right.
It's just a straight fucking shot.
There's no but there's a lot of California plates, and that's
but like, actually, funny enough, Californians in that stretch of the road understand left and right. They understand travel and passing lanes. I promise you, they do.
Okay.
Now, coming back from Vegas to LA, that's a whole bunch of hungover, drug-addled people that are angry. It's just fuck. They're just hating their lives.
Just want to go home and take a
fly. It was
just want to go take a shave nap.
That's why I think State Line stays in business, because people get like an hour outside of Vegas and like,
fuck it.
I'm buying another casino hotel. I'm hanging in Prim. I'm gonna get the prime rib.
I'm gonna recover. I'm gonna win this all back.
Totally, yeah. See you tomorrow, Monday. But my point is like,
get off your phone.
Yeah.
Get off your phone. You should never be on your phone, but especially on bad roads and inclement weather. Get over. Here's the other thing that I want to yell at everyone I see driving every day about. Most vehicles have daytime running lights these days.
Yeah.
Daytime running lights.
Don't do your brake lights.
Your tail lights.
Tail lights.
They do not do your tail lights.
They don't do your brake lights unless you step on
them. Hit your brakes. Right. That's how the brake lights work. Hence the name. But yeah, you just because you think that you have daytime running lights doesn't mean anyone else can see you. So you need to turn your lights on. If it's even sort of dark, if you've got to use your wipers, if there's spray coming off, it can be a sunny, beautiful day. But you know how, like, when the snow melts on the roads and there's just spray everywhere, you cannot see.
Yeah.
And you want people to be able to see you. Turn your lights on.
I think that's the same thing with like the other side of the coin of the blessing of technology of all-wheel drive and like
ABS brakes and driver assists, like the warnings if you're changing lanes.
That doesn't mean that you're invincible.
I think personally it makes people worse drivers.
It does, because like you still have to be accountable to your space and your activity and the speed and the terrain and the conditions, and like
neither one of our vehicles have any of that new crap on it. I guess Jenna's truck has ABS and traction control, but I turn that shit off. And when we you can't turn off ABS, but you can turn off traction control. And when we get like a rental car,
the driver assist on the newer cars, where it like prevents you from switching a lane, I'm like,
the steering wheel
actually
fighting
cost me an accident because you're fighting me.
We both have a mutual friend, Jenna and I have a mutual friend that he rented one. It was like a Ford Exploder or some sort of Ford SUV, and it was on bad weather, snow and ice. And the car started, like, he was trying to like change lanes or correct a slide or something. And then the car started like steering him, and he ended up putting into the guardrail. And he's like, if I'd have been in my 65 Mustang, I'd have been fine because I know how to drive it.
So this is an interesting like aside. We should mark this down for later discussion. The power of AI, you know, the benefit and detriment to society.
Let's move right along. I feel like we're getting a little long-winded here.
No, we're good on time. We're good about 10 more minutes, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, let's get into some of the we were talking about tips and tricks. So slow down, give people some space. One of the things that I thought of for this conversation was like, you know, if you're in a city where you have like, you know, street parking, get your fucking car out of there if you can before it gets in. I've seen all those memes of people shoveling their car out.
There's the snow plow zone.
Yeah,
I had my truck towed a couple.
Well, I mean, in Chicago though, I've seen stories of like,
get out of Chicago.
Well, yeah, just park your car on like Millsboro, or I don't know, is that a suburb around Chicago? It's made up.
Get out of Chicago.
First of all, just get out of Chicago.
Get out of Chicago.
Second,
if you're listening to this in Chicago, get on the floor, duck.
Pay attention to the street sweeping schedules.
Listen to our in the future podcast about body armor and firearms.
Fortunately, Aspen has called me twice when they're about to like plow the street.
Oh no, they towed my shit.
That they didn't want to tell me. They called me. They're like, "Get out here!" And one time I came out, and then the whole road, all the snow from the sides was put into the
Middle, yeah.
and I had to like
See, I'm the guy
navigate
that
my car like around all these.
I'm the guy that plows through that. I'm like, oh, you guys have done such a nice job. Nope,
Totally.
I'm blowing right through this.
Totally. I think it did go through some of their construction, but I don't have as much high center clearance as you do.
All right, so let's say we
So don't get plowed in was one of the other things. Here in the Roaring Fork, watch out for the buses. Watch out for Raptor.
stay away from the buses.
Yeah, there's basically like red and white plates.
Oh yeah, one thing that
Check
you,
weather we talked
one
about.
thing
Oh,
I-
keep your gas tank
yeah, thank
full.
you. That's what I
I
was
got my car today. You know, as we're prepping for this episode this week, I got my car today and my light was on, and I was like, "Am I even qualified to host this?"
I'm an idiot.
I'm going to the gas station tomorrow, and I'm going to Walmart after that to finish my winter kit because I'm missing a few things.
Sure.
And like we've got snow coming, I think Sunday and Monday. So,
What I want to
keep a full tank of gas always.
Here's the thing: you have to assume if you're traveling somewhere, everything's going to hit the fan. It's
Totally.
all going to go to shit.
Yeah.
You're going to get a flat tire. Your windshield's going to break. You're going to be stuck in a ditch. All the stuff.
This is actually where our most liberal audience is actually going to agree with us. So,
Yeah.
like, I always have a full charge.
Always. Yeah, sure. Here's the thing: if everything goes to shit, if you've got a half a tank or better of fuel, your car is going to sit there and idle for at least a couple hours, which is enough time for someone hopefully to accidentally find you. But here's the thing: you need to plan on no one coming to rescue you. You need to plan on having to self-exfil.
Which is kind of what I was thinking about having the plywood versus floor mats in terms of traction.
Sure.
Could also repurpose as firewood.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean, you could also eat your passenger.
Yeah, take a tire, take the spare and cut it in half.
You could
and, like,
light your tire
some
on
rubber,
fire, light
yeah.
your car on fire, and warm your hands. And I mean, like, how bad are we getting here?
Yeah.
We're
Sure.
for the most part, we're in civilization. If we want to do a survival podcast, we could definitely.
No,
do that.
we're talking 2 or 3 days of
Right.
like needing to get to it. Well, I think that's a pretty good summary, my friend.
I think so too.
Socks, boots, eye protection, emergency.
Do you want to get
gear.
into you made it here and stuff, or should we save that for another one?
Made it here?
All right, so that's
What
the
notes are
travel
you
win-
looking at?
So that's the travel winter stuff.
Oh well, fucking don't wear your Givenchy. You don't need love. You need Givenchy. Don't wear a onesie like a.
Unless it's
and
like
I-
an event.
No. Like even then, I caution.
Don't wear a onesie unless there's 4 other people wearing a onesie with you.
No, unless you're like over $500,000 net worth.
Oh, you mean like not
No,
like
you're
that?
like your name brand, Givenchy.
Got it.
No, or like your, because
Not like you're
remember like 2 years ago the microwaves of Aspen.
Yeah, yeah.
IG account
So
was
great.
like so money because all these people wearing these like radioactive, like reflective, puffy ones.
puffy aluminum
And
foil.
it's like
lenses.
y'all are just doing photos at the base. Like, look, there's so many people that come here that can't ski, can't get down
the
mountain.
giant furry boots can't do it.
I mean,
The speed skier helmet when you're like in rental skis, like come on, dude.
bro, so good. That's such a good call.
But,
Such a
well,
good
so
call.
what's it called when you do something to be like make fun of people who do it?
Parody?
Maybe I don't know. There's
Like you're
like-
mocking them?
yeah.
Yeah.
So like skiing jeans because I think it's hilarious.
No, if you can ski in jeans and you like throw a
Right.
backflip off the
Right.
fucking like buckhorn lip,
Sure,
all day.
all day.
I'm following you. I want
But
to
also-
where you ski, how you ski, and
It's too like if you're from Texas and all you got some Carhartt coveralls, rock them.
fine. I'm not mad at that.
I don't
Or
care.
like, look, I'm not. We used to
No one judges you
Right.
on the hill
actually
unless you're a douchebag.
totally. That was a #1 rule when I moved to Aspen. Just be cool, and if you can ski, even better.
Yeah.
Just don't be an asshole, and you're getting along just fine. Doesn't matter how much money you have, who likes you, who's your friend.
Typically, the
All
people with
that.
the most money are some of the bigger douchebags. Well, it's like that medium money. It's like I'm a millionaire, but it's like brand new money. And
Yeah.
here's my wife with her fake tits and her
Wow.
fake lips and her
trying to step on y'all to come up.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I just so shout out to Jimmy, Jimmy Yeager, and Jimmy's Upstairs, which was a longtime institute, sold last season, and he's been contributed to the community for like 30 plus years. One of the first guys I met here was my girlfriend at the time. Worked at his second property, which is the Bodega.
Oh, yeah.
And the Bodega was a long-time local joint. For those of y'all that like used to be in Aspen, was Pacifico, I think.
Pacifico, yeah.
Pacifico for the longest time. They didn't even bother to change the awnings, and Jimmy just opened up, had a lot of the shared staff that were, shared vendors and stuff. And the Bodega was like the place to be. It was
totally
like
great
locals corner. And it could be an X Games gold medalist, a published author, a billionaire,
and Chevy
a
Chase.
ski bum, and me, and all five of us were like equal at that conversation.
Yeah.
Nobody cared more about like money or gear, or like it was just like, are you cool? If not, you're out of the bar, and we're gonna shuffle someone else in here because
we only like cool people.
We only like cool people. And that was the number one thing. Is like, when I first showed up here, it was the underlying like community that really like stitched Aspen together. And it wasn't like, are you the best skier? Do you have the most money? Do you have the most life accomplishments? Are you the most well-traveled? Just don't be a dick, and you have access to a lot of
you're gonna be
access.
Yeah. And it's, I don't know. Well, let's get into this shit you need for the mountain in the next one.
Yeah, no, I think we're in a good spot. As I say, stuff you need for the mountain, that's probably less important to people that are just, coming here from Florida and Denver, than it is for like locals to think about. Or sorry,
I would just, you're coming to the mountains in the winter to do winter sports. Expect winter mountain type shit.
Expect cold, expect variant, expect variability,
totally,
and respect your local.
Respect your locals, and just there's too many people in the area right now than what was designed for the infrastructure, the roads.
Yeah.
And so we've got more people on these tiny little country roads, essentially. 82 is an interstate for the most part. And 70 is like some quadruple state, whatever it is, like California. The roads that we have out here were not designed for the amount of traffic that we have. And I'm the worst. I'm a road raging motherfucker, and I'm an aggressive driver to a fault sometimes, but don't be that guy. I know I'm wrong. I do everything I can to try and reel it in.
But you're also like a really good driver. Like you've also been professionally trained as well, militarily and off of that. So look, guys, the idea is like, give yourself some time to travel, arrive alive so that you can be with your people, which is the reason for the travel.
Hope for the best.
Protect yourself and the ones around you by sharing some of this knowledge. Hopefully you do it. Hopefully you heed it for yourselves. And I think the last thing is like, just
you cannot be overly prepared.
Yeah, just be prepared.
You cannot be overly prepared. Because even if it's some shit that you'll never use or that you don't think you'll need, someone else is going to.
I love that point about somebody else. That's such a selfless thing.
That's why I carry 2 tourniquets, one for me, one for the other guy.
Yeah, well, that's where my co-host is at, because that's the kind of guy he is. And I follow his lead in that regard. So want to thank you all for listening. Really appreciate y'all taking any heed. Hopefully there's some helpful points in here to get you guys ready for the winter. And as always, we appreciate feedback, questions, conversation. And as we increase our production value, just want to leave you with a little music from our favorite fucking Veteran Day band guys, the War Hippies.
Scotty and Donnie.
These guys are coming around. But thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate the feedback and the comments, and thank you for the time. Until the next time, be safe out there. Love y'all.
See ya.